Welcome to Was It Good, the podcast that reviews movies and TV shows. It's been a little bit of time since our last podcast, but we are back doing Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. I'm Ravi, as always, joined by my two brothers.
Arjuna, the ring bearer.
And Krishna. I don't have a ring.
Or a bear.
Or a bear. Exactly. I'm ringless and bearless.
Actually, it's interesting. Speaking of rings, Arjuna, don't you have a replica, the One Ring?
I do.
Are you wearing it currently?
You'd think as a professional podcaster, I would have been prepared to wear it, but I left it in my bedroom.
Do you not wear your
Which is
rings all the time?
20 feet away. No, I only really wear it when I go out or.
Now, does that include obviously I recently got married. Like, I don't wear my wedding ring all the time. Like when I'm working out, I take the ring off. It makes
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I
traditionally take off their jewelry for workouts or showers or bedtime.
So taking this, back into this topic here, which is obviously Lord of the Rings. We know in Lord of the Rings there's like a couple rings created for some humans, some dwarves, some elves, and all that shit. Do you think they wore their rings all the time, or like when they had to work out, they were like, you know what, gotta take this off right now?
I get the impression they wore them all the time because they put a lot of value on those rings. And it seems to me a lot of them were afraid to lose them to the enemy or, to friends, rascals, friends who might steal them. So I assume they just kept them on all the time.
Well, spoiler alert for those who have never seen Lord of the Rings. I question why you're watching this or listening to this podcast if you haven't. But Frodo doesn't wear the One Ring all the time.
Well, that's because it makes him invisible and
makes him invisible.
Wouldn't that eventually make him
gives
insane?
him like a weird bloodlust of evil?
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think that makes sense that he would.
So my answer is it's a case by case basis. How evil are you? If you're evil, you wear it all the time.
This is making me question the whole idea behind wedding rings.
Tolkien was actually anti marriage and the institution of marriage.
I mean,
the whole point of Lord of the Rings.
I think he was a couple of things. We'll just leave it like that.
Oh my.
Anyway, let's get into it. Obviously, Rings of Power, Amazon, Papa Bezos blessed us with this billion-dollar show. The first two episodes are out, currently at the taping of this podcast. It dropped last night, like 6 p.m. I believe everyone here, I would hope, has seen it, and no one is lying.
What is Rings of Power?
And we obviously, when new content comes out, we like to start our text thread and text each other. And I was texting you guys, and I said I wanted to create my own DVD chapter listing, which was a combination of bored, boring, and boring, asleep. Well, I want to clarify one thing. I was texting you all. Only having watched the first 20-25 minutes of the first episode.
Of course.
And obviously, once you hit the kind of midway point of the first episode, you kind of realize something clicked in my brain. And it was basically, oh my goodness, they made a movie on TV screen.
They make big budget on TV.
And basically what I mean by that is, I don't know how, and I kind of want to go back and watch it again, but somehow they definitely made it feel like you were watching The Lord of the Rings. You were watching this epic, big tale on your small screen, and it felt big. It felt like a proper, movie, an epic, movie. Like it felt like the very first time I saw Fellowship of the Rings, just the scale and that overall feeling. Again, I don't understand how they did it. Maybe it was money well spent, specifically on, Amazon Box has been feeding some kind of like gas or drug into my house to convert my brain patterns. I don't know. Could be.
I thought you were going to actually mention, so I don't know if either of you have ordered anything off of Amazon recently, but recent Amazon boxes have Rings of Power plastered all over the actual boxes. If you actually open up your Amazon app, which, I often do just to look at stuff.
I just buy stupid things.
You get like a Rings of Power thing immediately as your first screen, like a whole graphic and everything. So no expense has been spared to make sure that you've heard of this show. In fact, if you have not heard of this show, that is impressive to me because I don't know if that's possible.
For real.
I have a question. This is maybe for later in the pod, but real quick, this is $1 billion show. Do we know if that includes marketing money?
Yes, that's everything.
It does. What do you think the split is from production and marketing? What's the split? 60-40?
So I think I read this actually. So that also includes the
250 to buy the rights.
250 million that Amazon had to spend for the rights, right? And then I think
one thing to clarify real quick. One thing to clarify, it's not, from what I've been reading. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bezos was personally involved in obtaining the rights from the Tolkien estate to do this show, which, you know, we know like famous people, like I think the most famous, like Stephen Colbert, is like a huge, you know, tokehead. I didn't think Bezos was one, or do you think Bezos just did it because he's like, this is another $1 trillion idea or something?
I think this is the trump card of, this is kind of like, you're going all in at this point now with Amazon Prime. This is like, if this show succeeds, Amazon Prime succeeds. You know, Prime Video, I should say, succeeds. If this show fails, this is the end of Amazon Prime Video.
Oh my god!
And like, I think they're fine with that. I think Bezos was just like, let's take the swing, let's do it, let's get the biggest IP that's pretty much out there, and that was, I guess they assessed, was Lord of the Rings, and they've gone for it.
Biggest, or do you think most controversial?
I mean, both. But Christian, to go back to your question, so I would say the 250 for the rights. I think it's about 500 for the episodes itself, and then the rest is marketing. So it's another $250 million.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'd love to see like all-time marketing rankings in terms of like marketing campaigns. I wonder where this ranks. It's got to be up there. It's probably definitely easily top 3. I just wonder if it's number 1. You know.
There are conventions that cover things like that. Like there's like a general like marketing convention and like not like kind of like a group or whatever.
Like MarketCon?
Yeah, kind of. Hey guys, can check out MarketCon 2022.
Well, boys, we've discovered the next convention was as good as going to.
No,
oh
god, that sounds like a nightmare.
Speaking of conventions, so Pasadena Convention Center here in SoCal, they have what they call PetCon each year. It hasn't been back since I think just prior to COVID. I think this is the first year they're coming back. Very excited. I'm gonna go because.
Speaking of conventions, DC recently announced that DC Fandom will not be happening.
I wonder why.
What the fuck is DC Fandom?
It's kind of like their specific. It's like their Comic-Con, if you will, but just for DC. And it's usually where they announce and showcase all their TV shows. Movies. Projects, everything DC focused.
They started it in the pandemic because all the conventions were kind of canceled and it was an online type of event. And they were like cowering, or well, not cowering, but hiding behind like, oh, conventions are back, so we're going to Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. But I think the real reason is like, we don't know what we're doing with any of our IP, so.
Yeah, so why talk about it?
Why talk about Shazam 2 for the 3rd year in a row?
What did I see? Somebody was tweeting about Black Adam and it being a small little film or something, and you need to go support it. I don't know. I think it was a joke. I don't know where I saw. Somebody was tweeting about it. I don't remember where.
It's great.
Let's look at one-word impressions. How would you guys sum up the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power? Christian, let's hear yours first.
I think my one-word impression is going to be Jackson, as in Peter Jackson. I think the most. Jackson? No, Peter Jackson. I think the most surprising thing to me was how this just felt like Lord of the Rings, and it's directly established from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, directed by Peter Jackson. They really nailed the look, the feel, the pacing, the language. Tolkien. That's how Tolkien wrote the books. That very high English, Shakespearean, and they continued that aesthetic. And honestly, it's like I kind of want, when this first season is over, or maybe when the show is over, I'd love to just go through and go Rings of Power. I'll force myself to watch The Hobbit, right into Lord of the Rings.
You can skip those.
I can't. It's you have to suffer. It's like It's like, certain Star Wars movies, you got to do it. Certain Marvel movies, you got to go through it to get the full experience, right? Same thing.
There are YouTube videos.
Christian, I'm sorry. For Star Wars, specific to the movies, you're talking episode 8, right?
No, I'm talking episode 2.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is pretty painful.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones is the greatest Star Wars movie that was ever created.
It might be the most memed.
It's honestly the most embarrassing thing is that's the first Star Wars film that we saw in a theater was episode 2.
Incredible.
I don't think that's a coincidence, by the way. But yeah, but Peter Jackson specifically, because that whole world and aesthetic is right there, and I love it.
Juna, how would you sum up in one word Rings of Power?
I want to go with ensemble.
Wow,
not
high
that
English
I was
word.
not that I was shocked that this was an ensemble show, but it very much is an ensemble show with not just characters, but so many races, so many storylines. There's so many even different styles of storytelling in terms of tone, in terms of what's going on, in terms of how big or how small the kind of issue or problem is. Like, I thought that was very interesting, and it was well balanced, I thought, throughout the entire episode, both episodes of themselves. So, yeah, ensemble for me. Just I thought it was a true ensemble show, and one of the few that actually works. Right, I think there are a lot of shows that try to be ensemble shows that kind of fail in a lot of ways, and I thought this one was one that really succeeded.
You're referring to Game of Thrones, obviously, with their lackluster season 8 and confusing plot points everywhere.
You remember those Dorne characters? They're all dead now.
You remember? I mean, I try not remember honestly anything from that show. Whenever I have a question, I just Google it and/or just find a YouTube video. Make it quick and easy. I'd sum up the Rings of Power with kind of a made-up word, and because this is our podcast, we can make things up, and it's going to be Dayam. Dayam.
Oh, damn.
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 So, damn. But it's spelled D-A-Y-U-M.
Oh,
That's
damn.
actually a real word.
Anyway. And again, I was going to go with surprise, but Krishna said that in his explanation, so, I have to be unique. Otherwise, what's the point of anything? But, yeah, again, like, it shocked me how much I truly enjoyed it and how it made me kind of just feel like we're back.
I'm shocked.
We're back. We've got something exciting and something interesting to look forward to. I mean, we've talked about this a lot where, I don't like week-to-week television, unless it's Star Trek Strange New Worlds because it's, episode specific as opposed to overall arcs. This show, because I'm so interested in like what's happening in these characters and just the general story of, dipshit Sauron. I really can't even say that with a straight face. Dipshit Sauron. I'm probably gonna watch this like week to week because it's a good show. It's interesting. It's so far, knock on wood. Like,
and to be clear, Abby, you are rooting for Sauron.
Oh,
right?
100%. And this brings me
You
to
do know his fate, right?
Yeah, he gets teleported to another world. He'll be back. Mogarth, is it Morgarth?
Fourth age, baby.
Mogarth will bring him back, right? I mean, he's his servant, and Mogarth is a god, right? So why not?
I think there's another factor that you actually mentioned about making this an easy week-to-week watch, and it's because you said the first 20 minutes, right? It took you 20 minutes to get into it, and then you were surprised at how much like a movie it felt.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier to invest in something week to week when each episode feels like a mini movie.
Yeah.
Because you're going to sit down, you're going to turn everything else off, and you're going to focus, and you're going to get a complete story, incredible production value, and it's going to take its time, right?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that each episode so far, and we know that certain shows tend to fall off maybe in the middle of seasons in terms of quality. So far, it seems like each episode has been able to stand by itself. And I feel like I was on Twitter, and a lot of people saved the second episode for the next day because they were like, it's so meaty, it's so
there's so much
immersive
to,
of an
to
experience.
digest and break into. Yeah, for sure.
I think, I think like there's also something to be said about not just having an expensive show, but having a show where it feels like everything and everyone is bought in, right? The performances feel completely locked in. The direction feels locked in. There's a lot of thought that is put into it. I'm not saying that most, shows and movies don't have that, but it feels like you feel that, right? And there's a decision and a reasoning behind every single thing, and that's kind of what this show felt like in the first 2 episodes.
Going back to what Arjuna brought up, where I'm rooting for Sauron, and I texted you guys this. I have a really bad hot take, and I'm gonna bring it up anyway because hot takes are the best thing in the world. Here's my hot take. Prepare yourselves, because it's really stupid. Sauron was in Middle Earth doing his thing, right? He's bringing the evils, quote unquote, of the world, letting these people do whatever they want. Then these high-class citizens over in, Valinor, look across the sea and decide, that's not good. We're going to liberate Middle Earth and push our views and everything on all you people. So what do? They pack up, take a bunch of ships, and invade Middle Earth, and force good old Sauron, who's just doing his thing, out of into hiding or whatever Sauron is doing currently. So basically, the way I look at it, if we're looking at Rings of Power in terms of like the real world, obviously the elves are America.
Oh no!
And Middle Earth is the Middle East.
Ooh, like I don't know if I can necessarily agree with your hot take, but I will say they've done a great job in the first 2 episodes of establishing just how uneasy human elf relations are, right? So I think there's actually some truth to what you're saying. Not the Sauron just doing his innocent thing over here, but the elves maybe imposing themselves or overreaching or taking the initiative and being sort of like, no one else can do it, we have to do it,
right?
And therefore establishing a blanket. And the other thing that the show I think does a great job is showing that this is clearly 4,500 years before Lord of the Rings, and so we're seeing early versions of hobbits. We're seeing the realm of men in the Southlands. They're more farmers. They're less
Kings.
Organized. Right. They've done a great job of showing that we are clearly, this is a different age, and the elves, for better or worse, are the ones who have to do it because they're the established power in this world, right? Like I think the age of men, right? That's Lord of the Rings,
right?
Or that's the age that we before. Right. Them, this is pre-Age of Men, clearly, and they've done a great job of showing.
This is the second age, correct?
Yeah,
right.
The second age, exactly.
What's interesting though is like Arjuna, you'll remember this. This show, especially like the relationship between elves and humans, very much reminds me of Star Trek Enterprise, when the Federation's first forming and the Vulcans are imposing kind of their views and threatening to ground humanity because they're like, oh, you're not ready or whatever. And fun fact, Vulcans are essentially space elves. They're based off of elves in the sense in terms of like what we're seeing with Lord of the Rings.
Just to go off of the Sauron point, like I think what's even like super, I put it in our outline too, of like what's so effective about him. He's such an effective character that's not present, right? Like he is this foreboding force that the audience is obviously familiar with Lord of the Rings, right? Like Lord of the Rings is this huge cultural phenomenon that if you're watching the show, you've probably at least seen or at least heard of those movies and kind of know the basis of like the evil eye Sauron and his evil lands and whatnot. So I think it's like really, really smart of the creators of the show to like make sure Sauron is like very present in everything that is kind of happening. And this is one of the more effective uses of a character that's like actually not present, but has so many consequences to not just the characters, the plot, the story, and everything around it. You could actually make the point, you can make an argument that he is kind of like the main character because everything is kind of about him.
Thus, he is who you should be rooting for.
No.
He is the protagonist, and all of the characters that we've seen are the antagonists.
I mean, they're all trying to stop what he wants to do. So, yes, Sauron good, Hobbit bad.
Love it. Love it.
Real quick, our sentence, if we rearrange our one-word impressions, is "Damn, Jackson and Ensemble."
Sounds like a weird Jackson 5 reunion tour.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of, dipshit Sauron, I don't know why I keep calling him that if I'm rooting for him. What is his plan exactly? So the thing that's interesting with the Rings of Power, I thought it was based off the book, the
Silmarillion.
Silmarillion, but it's actually based off of the appendixes to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So this is, to a degree, this can be a brand new tale, right? Similar to that video game that came out a couple of years ago, the Lord of the Rings one, where you're a half elf and you could power up and become a Super Saiyan. I don't.
There's actually a connection to that game in this show.
Oh wait, for real?
Yes, the character that Elrond is working with, Celebrimbor, he is the elf wraith that works with the Ranger, because he is the forger of the Ring of Power, right? Like that's what he's trying to forge. He's trying to forge the rings.
Well, actually, right now he's building a forge.
Right now he's about to build a forge, and that forge will then create
all the rings.
The Ring of Power. Yeah,
well, it's going to create all of them, and then the Rings of Power. Yeah,
I find that so interesting because Elrond's going to help him do it, which makes Elrond indirectly responsible for all the shit.
Well, I think what's really fascinating about this show is you're going to see how all these characters are, in many ways, responsible. Right? We haven't met him yet, but they did cast Isildur. From who actually, in fact, many people, the stinger at the end of 2 is Galadriel and the human that she's with, I forget his name, are found by a guy on a boat, and a lot of people think that is either Isildur or his father.
Wait, back up, because my Lord of the Rings timeline is messed up. So, obviously, in the Fellowship of the Ring, it starts with Galadriel telling the tale of the big battle with Sauron. That big battle happened 4,500 years ago?
Thousands.
Yeah, actually,
years
we have to establish something. Was that battle with Sauron or was it with Morgoth?
That's with
Sauron.
It's with
Sauron.
But isn't Morgoth? Is Morgoth defeated at this point?
Yes, Morgoth is a god. Sauron was like a lieutenant or general, whatever, or believer. He was a believer of Morgoth.
Was Morgoth defeated in the first age?
Yes. So that, I mean, again, don't quote me, don't come at me with pitchforks.
Right.
But I believe, based on what I've been told in these 2 episodes, Morgoth is pieced out. Evil is still in the world because Sauron is still pushing it. And that's what I think is going to be the super interesting thing, is we know from the Lord of the Rings that Sauron somehow tricks the elves and everybody into building these rings, right? So I'm kind of curious how we go from the High Elf King knowing that Sauron's around to... Well, actually, you know what? I think I just figured it out. The High Elf King is evil. He's working with Sauron. That's why he sent everyone away.
So part of what the appendices talk about with Sauron is he has multiple forms, right? Everyone knows the famous form that you see in the Lord of the Rings prologues, and they even show some of that here, where the big menacing armor, and he's this 8-foot like monstrosity, right? Then we're familiar with the Eye of Sauron, which is obviously the Lord of the Rings imagery. But most of the time, he actually would disguise himself among the elves and the men and all of these different people, and kind of pull. He was pulling strings essentially. So a lot of people have a lot of beliefs that we've potentially already seen Sauron, that he is maybe one of these characters, and he is potentially already pulling some strings, which potentially he is the king. Maybe he is the high king of the elves, or he is somehow influencing things to happen here. Like, why is I always mess up his name, but Celebrimbor wanting to build this big forge, right? That to me is like, what's your big motivation for this?
Yeah.
Because he has the thing about
It's a red
beauty and everything, but like, where does that come from? Like, why is that?
Yeah, why is that pop in your
there?
head all of a sudden?
Yeah. So yeah, to go off of what Juna just said, you're absolutely right? So we're familiar with Sauron, the ghost, if you will, like the angry ghost,
your friendly ghost,
whose power is tied to the ring. But we're in the age where he's super charming, he's very cunning. I think his nickname is the Great Deceiver. So I think we're gonna get like a version of Sauron where he's like kind of like likable. Or at least that's what he's going to present, right? Because you're right. He was able to influence all of these groups of people into accepting these gifts, right? So very curious.
I think it's also fun to think about as you meet these characters are like, who are the men who will accept the rings? Who are the dwarves that accept the rings? All of these different characters, right? Like, we know Galadriel is one of the elves that takes the rings, but who are the others, So I think that's interesting to kind of see, too, because you can see, like, who are the men who become the Nazgul?
The 9 kings, right? The 9 human kings.
9 were
7 dwarfs and 3 elves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, is Durin Elrond's BFF? Is he one of the dwarves? Because he's a prince, right?
I
is
very
he
much
a dwarven royalty.
I love the new Gimli and the new Legolas. I will say, let's ask real quick though. I want to go around. Like, obviously, we're introduced to a bunch of new characters. We have a new Galadriel. We have a new Elrond. They obviously recast the actors because this is 4,500 years ago. But my argument is going to be, in the Fellowship of the Rings, if the battle that we see at the beginning is with Elrond and Isildur, if that happens roughly around this same period. Man, Elrond did not age correctly, but whatever.
I have a fun fact about the actor who plays Elrond. He has a Game of Thrones connection. He might look familiar to you.
He does look super familiar.
Young Ned Stark in late Game of Thrones.
He did. Yeah, he fucking did.
Correct.
Well,
in,
you know
I
what?
think season 7 or 8.
Better job as Elrond as whatever that was in stupid Game of Thrones land. But real quick, these new characters that we've been introduced to, and these revisits of younger characters that we're familiar with. Do you guys have a favorite, a least favorite? Who are you rooting for right now, and who do you not like? Let's start with who you don't like. That's more fun.
Oh, who I don't like? I mean, so far I kind of like everyone. No one's really like Arjuna said. Everyone's acting chops are nailed in.
No. Let me clarify. I'm not saying like the acting. I'm talking like the actual characters.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like
again, I don't know if there's anyone I don't like. Like everyone, and they've done a good job. Like they've presented everyone, and everyone clearly has like a likable thing about them. And then there's some things where you're like, oh, that could get really annoying. They haven't played those up yet.
Yeah.
Right. I will say, I think the better question might be who's the character you're most surprised that you like.
Well,
right? For me, it's Nori. I'm shocked that I'm interested at all in the Harfoots and Nori, like the little Harfoot girl who finds the giant.
So Nori and Poppy.
Yeah.
The one character I was going to bring up is that I'm not rooting for right now is Theo, the son of the Theo, right? Is the son?
Theo, yeah. I mean, he's gone full bad, right? At this point.
Well, the thing that annoys me is he's got clearly this evil weapon. Maybe it is the weapon of Sauron, like his sword, and he's just hiding it like a fucking idiot.
Ravi, we're living in the second age. They don't have the knowledge yet. Okay, they don't have.
They don't have internet.
The dial-up. They're in dial-up right now. They don't. They don't know.
Here's the thing, though. Like, AOL Instant Messenger. His mom won't let him get one.
They know though that there's evil in the world, and this kid's seeing that like this evil thing. Like remember at the end of episode 2, like it's growing. The sword is fixing itself as like.
But you know Sauron's power. His main power is like corruption. Right,
True,
he did it through the ring and with Frodo and with all the men that are about to be turned into Nazgul in a couple seasons. Like, it's not so hard to think that this relatively innocent boy living in a backwater farming village isn't going to get tempted by a weapon
filled with
He's
a
gonna
bunch.
die.
Filled with
He's
a
gonna
bunch
become
of,
evil, and then Arendir is gonna have to kill his own son.
Yeah, so we are convinced that Arendir is the father, right, of Theo,
No, 100%.
because we
really?
haven't seen Theo's ears yet. They're covered. They are covered very well by his hair. Even when he's running, they're covered, and it's like.
Also,
Who you try-
Arendir's
who you
line
trying
of
to
"I've
fucking
shown you,
fool?"
I've shown you that I care in every ways, but the spoken words." So they fucked.
Whoa. Okay. Wait. I'm not gonna lie. You blew my mind right now. I just assumed that kid's full human. The dad is not around, and Arendir's swooped in to steal the girl and be the surrogate father.
Her name is Bronwyn.
That's right,
Bronwyn.
Bronwyn.
I might be mispronouncing that, but
I mean, I just assume when it comes to Tolkien characters and everything, we're just mispronouncing everything.
it's actually
it's a general
Tolkien.
rule. Yeah. Do you guys have surprising characters that you're surprised that you like?
Mine's gonna be the father or the supposed father, Arondir.
Arendir.
Yeah, I think he is the coolest. He's just so cool. I'm like, that guy, I'd love to grab a drink with him and he can tell me how alcohol is poison, it's killing me slowly, and that he's seen 1,000 suns or some elvish shit.
Love it.
But he's cool.
He's awesome. He's maybe my favorite character. Yeah.
Nice.
Juna, do you have one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I kind of tried to stay away from a lot of the promos and the trailers for the show, and not read too much about the show until it had come out because I wanted to go in not really knowing what to expect. And like I knew Galadriel and Elrond were gonna be in the show. I did not realize they were going to be like the two main characters of the show. And as I was watching it in the first episode, I felt like a little mixed. I was like, these are familiar characters with different performances. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this, but I really actually like them a lot. I like their portrayals. I like who they are. I like that even though they're so different, because it's thousands and thousands of years before the versions that we're familiar with, you can see the through line of like, oh, I see how this guy becomes Elrond. I see how she becomes Galadriel. So I think that's really cool. And then I really like the Dwarven Prince, Durin. I think he's just like a really fun character. I think the dwarves have always been cool. I thought like within Lord of the Rings, like obviously we had Gimli, but we didn't get to see a lot of the Dwarven society. And then we had the atrocity of the Hobbit trilogy that really doesn't need to be spoken of. So it's nice to kind of get some more of the Dwarven culture in Durin in particular. I thought he like was a really like interesting character, and I was like, I could like spend a whole season just here in the Dwarven caves. And
speaking of that dwarf cave, like, so the Rings of Power is doing a lot of like showing Middle Earth and like showing what parts of Middle Earth you're in. I don't know my Tolkien lore. I like to think that it's because I studied real world history, which is more important to know. But are some of those locations, like the names that we're getting, are those locations going to become like, the Hills of Rohan? Because I swear one of the locations, the name looked like it was like a pre-Rohan.
So did you catch the name of the Dwarven kingdom?
Is it the Mines of Moria?
Is Khazad-dûm, which is, so remember they go through the Mines of Moria and then they get to Khazad-dûm. It's that.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, so wow, so they did not pay the electric bill for 40 years.
They all die at some point.
They get slaughtered.
When did
and it makes me curious actually, because I'm like, Gimli was related to the Lord, right? One of the lords of Moria, and then Khazad-dûm specifically, was like a section of it, I guess. So I'm wondering if Durin and his family are related to Gimli somehow.
I mean, I would imagine that there's some connect, because
I'm sure it's in the appendix. Actually.
Right, like the whole point of the appendices is to
family lines.
Yeah, family lines and everything. So I'd imagine, these people are all connected to, our fellowship, if you will, in some way. Like I'm sure we're gonna at some point run into Aragorn. Well, obviously Aragorn's line is Isildur, but also Boromir and his insane father. I'm sure there'll be some kind of connect or something somewhere.
I guess that's what I'm not familiar with in terms of Rings of Power, in terms of how many years and ages and whatnot it's going to span. Like, obviously, it seems like we're in a pretty finite time period, but I don't know if it's going to be like House of the Dragon, where they're going to jump times and.
It's been 6 months.
I mean, obviously, they could do that with like Elrond and Galadriel, because Elrond to Durin is like, oh, it's been 20 years. It's been such a short amount of time, and Durin's like, it's been 20 fucking years. You missed half my life.
Speaking of characters, are we gonna talk about the elephant in the room?
We haven't seen the elephants of the South yet.
Go, that's good. That's good. I meant metaphorically speaking. Meteor Man.
You mean Gandalf? You
got everyone. Everyone's gonna have speculation on who that is.
It's
the
Gandalf.
Obvious one.
Duh.
Everyone obviously. The easy answer is Gandalf, obviously. But don't forget, there are 5 wizards total. 2 of them disappear. You have Radagast. This guy seems too tall to be Radagast, though. Some of the nature stuff, reminds you of Radagast maybe a little bit. And then obviously you have, big boy Saruman, who I guess used to be a wizard of honor before getting corrupted.
He was corrupted.
So, I mean, it seems like Gandalf. I mean, the fact that some of the telling points, the fact that he has an affinity for hobbits, and maybe the first thing he ever see is a hobbit-like creature. Him whispering to the fireflies, much like he did on the tower.
Right.
Well, that was a butterfly moth that he whispered to.
Yeah, right. But, the same idea.
Not a firefly. So why don't you just check your facts there?
You're right. We don't know if this guy speaks moth, butterfly. We know he speaks firefly, though. But
and then he killed them. They're all dead.
Gandalf? Are we definitively just saying it's Gandalf?
I think it's either
I don't know if it's Gandalf or if it's I mean, we know Gandalf is reincarnated, right? As Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White. So maybe this is like an earlier version of Gandalf, because at least I'm not familiar with in terms of like the wizards and their time frames in terms of their life, or like if they die and then they're able to come back, as they're kind of sent from the gods, right? They're kind of like these angel kind of like businessmen of like, hi, we're Jehovah's Witnesses and we're here to.
Would you like some fireworks?
Would you like some fire? Yeah. But I think Gandalf seems right. I didn't actually put that together in my head for some reason.
Really? So so you guys probably watched this on Amazon Prime, the app on like your Apple TVs. So I don't know if you guys are aware, Prime has a feature called X-Ray, where it will pop up and tell you who the character is on screen and who is played by. So I kept doing that when the giant, and it kept just saying stranger. So I was like, well, motherfucker.
I think he's credited as Stranger or Meteor Man.
Meteor Man. It's like,
the
prequel to Rocket Man.
Or he could it's the prequel to him becoming Meaty Man.
Oh.
I'm Gandalf the Meteor.
I'm Gandalf. You got some meat?
Got some meat there?
I just like the idea that this is Gandalf. He doesn't know how to talk. He doesn't really know social interactions. And he's going to learn from a hobbit.
I can't believe that. Well, they're not hobbits. They're Harfoots, which are precursors to hobbits.
Yeah. But, we could say they're hobbit-esque.
That's like saying a Neanderthal is a human.
I mean, technically.
Well, I mean.
They're not.
Potato.
No one says potato.
Isn't it tomato? Like
that's what it should be.
Yes, that's where that comes from, right? Not potato.
No one says potato.
Yeah, can I have some potatoes, please?
I would like some potatoes. No one says it like that. Oh,
yeah, can I get a large burger, a large potatoes?
Large order potatoes, some gravy.
Here's your potato, sir. I hope you like it.
Potato salad.
Flecked it out. So obviously new Gimli, new Legolas are hanging out, and then at the end of that scene, we see Why is that funny? We see Durin and his father go down to like some cave and open up a chest. And they have clearly probably an aperture light in the box, so you get that nice lighting effect. But what do we think? Like, what are they hiding? And they know that. Well, they also feel like Elrond is hiding something as well. Just a whole bunch of mistrust because
is it the season 2 renewal?
It's the contract. Well, actually, can we talk before we figure out what Durin and his dad are hiding? I read that the show's already been greenlit for 5 seasons.
I believe that is true to some degree, or at least they have a 5-season plan, and I think Amazon's given a majority of that commitment already.
Right.
I don't know if it's the full 5, but it's at least 2, if not more. Because I think they're filming the 2nd season now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this season they started in early 2020, stopped because of COVID, and then picked back up in 2021. I'm curious if we've seen scenes already from like the new shoots in 2020, and I'm also curious to see if we're going to see a drastic like tonal shift, either in writing, acting, something because of the pandemic. That's another curiosity.
I wonder it's all probably like set location and probably the characters, right? Because this is ensemble, so like it could have been like they shot all the Elrond stuff in 2020 and all the Galadriel stuff on the ship beyond is reshoots from 2021 or whatever. I guess we'll see.
We'll find out. But yeah, Durin and his dad, what are they hiding?
I don't know. For some reason, and it's good that you brought up the Celebrimbor forging the rings, because I was immediately like, oh, that's like a ring of power, right? One of the rings, maybe. But I don't think it could be, right? I'm not the best at Tolkien.
I don't
lore.
think it's necessarily a ring. I don't think it's a ring because the rings I don't think currently exist.
They don't exist yet.
I think it's something, either a gem or some kind of source of power, which will play into this forge that's being built. And I think Elrond is aware of whatever it is they have. And that is part of the reason he went to the dwarves, is because he knew they had the ability to create this forge. Was it in a spring or a summer that you have to make the damn thing?
Or
I
make
wonder.
it by spring,
Well, we talked about the location, right, and it being similar to where obviously the Fellowship goes in Fellowship of the Ring, and what is down there that they find a Balrog, right? So I do wonder if maybe they've been digging and they found something of some other nature that is to indicate. I'm not exactly sure what the Balrogs are. I'm pretty sure they're like corrupted something. Like
they are.
They're the opposites of the wizards. So I think the 5 wizards were sent by the gods to counter the 5 Balrogs, I believe.
Right.
So it's a baby Balrog. That'd be adorable. So you know how like you know how every franchise is like, we need a Grogu. This is gonna be Amazon's Grogu. Baby Balrog. Yeah.
Even
baby
though it
Balrog.
grows up. Oh man, that'd be crazy. I like that idea though, because you're right. The dwarves have an innate, I don't know if greed is the right word, but they have a drive to dig and collect and hoard gold. And we already know that it's a line right from Lord of the Rings that the dwarves dug too deep and dug too far. Right. They uncovered something that they shouldn't have, and that was the Balrog. Or something related to the Balrog, and maybe I love that idea. It's a great connection.
Wait. Just to clarify, though, are you saying you love the idea that's a baby Balrog or something else related to the Balrog?
The baby Balrog would be ultimately the best thing that could happen. I don't think it is. I think it's probably something related to finding the Balrog. Maybe something to do with that. Who knows? Maybe it's a fingernail of a Balrog. A finger. Fingy. My fingies.
I think we've kind of covered a lot of like the actual episode in terms of.
We haven't talked actually about Galadriel very much yet.
Oh. Well, this could be part of this conversation. So, real quick, obviously one of the other major talking points I think to this show is the angry individuals that go on the internet and say things and say that the show has failed before ever watching an episode. I haven't really paid too much attention, following, it's been about 24 hours or so since the show actually dropped. For the most part, most critics got to see it a day early. They did do a screening at IMAX the day before. The general consensus I'm seeing is just, similar to what I said, like blown away. Like they put movie in TV box. That is, by the way, that is my official review of this. It's movie
Please
in
tweet
TV
that.
box.
Tweet that.
Movie on TV.
But I guess
Movie
the question,
in TV box.
I guess the question is like, do you, if we're playing devil's advocate here, like, do you feel the show has forced any kind of, whatever the hell the word wokeness means? I don't know what it means anymore. Do you feel anything is being pushed? And even like the character of Galadriel, like that could be, I think, the main talking point here is like, I'm not sensing any of that so far. Like I think everybody's getting their fair due, and nothing feels overly forced, except Theo and the fucking sword, dipshit.
No, I think also like the smart thing about this, and I think with any type of work too, and I think what people need to get over it's like you can interpret art however you want to, like just because even if you're adapting a book 1-to-1 doesn't mean you have to do every single decision. And I think like how they've positioned Galadriel is really smart. Like she is this elf that is trying to avenge her brother, and is ultimately right. Like she's like, there's evil out there, and everyone's like, nah, it's not. We're good. We're fine. And she's like, no, there's evil. And you're like, nah.
Yeah, I think the foot soldiers are saying that, but I think it's become obvious. Like the High King, he definitely knows some shit is up. Like either that or he's really, really stupid.
Or really, really evil, like you
or corrupted, or he's Sauron.
Corrupt, yeah.
Like, why did he send them away? Why is he like, yeah, go, retire?
That's true. That's true. He sent away the force that has the most experience trying to track the.
Yep.
That he sent them away. That's a good observation. And Elrond's too stupid to see it.
Elrond's like, I'm gonna go see my friend. It's only been 20 years. I just saw him 20 years ago.
Yeah. I actually love that because that put the perspective of dwarves and elves versus everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Elves live forever unless they're killed. I love that. It's like, oh, I saw you 20 years ago. What's the problem?
Yeah, stop whining.
It reminded me of a line from Book of Boba Fett when Luke is talking to Grogu, and I think he says like, for you, a few blinks of the eye could be a lifetime of a friend, and it's like, that's really sad and kind of lonely, and like, that is depressing in many ways. That,
Wait,
like,
is Grogu and Yoda, are they space elves?
No,
I mean,
we
They
don't know
live
what
a long
they
time.
are.
They have pointy ears.
They're green. That's all we know about them. They come in various shades of green.
And they like
what
frogs.
if what's in the box is actually Grogu? Amazon is made a deal with Disney Plus, and Lord of the Rings and Star Wars exist in the same universe.
And that's how they announced the merger.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
And that's the merger.
That would be the biggest kept. Like that would be like in terms of like a secret. That's probably the best kept secret ever,
That's
of all
the
time,
only way to do
easily.
which is insane.
it. Yeah.
So
But just to go back to your question real quick, Ravi. I like Arjuna. I don't feel they did such a good job just recreating the Lord of the Rings world that I didn't even think about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I might have thought about it just for a second because I'm like, oh, I know people aren't going to like this choice because they're dumb and maybe they won't like this choice. But that stuff got drowned out just by how good the show is. So hopefully that carries through.
Right. In terms of what needs to happen for you to, at the end of the season, come back here on the pod and say, the Rings of Power was good. What's your qualifier? Like, what needs to either happen or keep happening in order for you to say yes, it was good?
I think for me, it's directly related to my one-word impression, Jackson. As long as they keep the look, the feel, the language, that aesthetic, basically, of Lord of the Rings, which they've absolutely nailed in these first 2 episodes, as long as they keep that, I think we'll be okay. And you brought up a very interesting point with the COVID break. COVID has been this great disruptor, right? And I think lesser shows, that's not a good term, but other shows have clearly suffered, right, from the great disruptor that is known as COVID. You would think that Amazon is big enough to handle that kind of stuff, but you never know. So as long as they are able to maintain most if not all, of that aesthetic that they've established in the first 2 episodes, we'll be good.
Speaking of big, great disruptors, because I like just going off topic here. What you said about COVID reminded me of this. So I don't know if you guys are aware. There's a solar flare, I believe, that's potentially going to like hit the Earth from the sun, and it could potentially like knock out power grids. So, in terms of like big disruptor events, just a heads up, just more of a PSA. In case you were wondering, I'm not giving any good information. Like, I don't know when it's supposed to happen. I know the percentage of it hitting is like 5% or something, but it's still pretty. It's 5%. It's pretty high.
Hey, the world is a scary place right now. Huge flooding in Pakistan and Pakistan.
And then we have a heat wave in SoCal, and LADWP and Tesla don't know how to fucking communicate.
And there's one other huge one, worldwide thing. I forget though, which isn't good.
Republicans.
Oh wow!
For me, my big qualifier, I think, because Chris, unfortunately, you kind of stole exactly what I was gonna say. I think that's the disadvantage of not going first, and that's why.
I thought yours was gonna be like I need Hugo Weaving and Kate Blanchett and Ian McKellen to show up as their actual character.
I mean, that would be ideal, but in all honesty, my main one is that Theo needs to grow a fucking brain. If that doesn't happen before the show ends, I'm gonna be pissed, and the show's bad.
What'd you say? He needs to grow a what?
A brain. And
but it sounds like it
tell
looks like
someone about this sword.
Ravi, it looks like he's literally growing the sword with his anger, his hatred,
or it's fear, or fear.
He's Anakin.
I think it's fear that's fueling the sword. Because remember, it was after that
building his own lightsaber.
That weird. By the way, what was that creature that attacked him and his mom? Was that like a?
That's an orc.
An orc.
Right, but it looked like it was pieced together. Like it looked like it had skin grafts on it or something. Like it looked like a Frankenstein orc.
That's a really interesting interpretation. I thought it might have been like just like war paint, or
could have been war paint.
Yeah, or that's just how they look in this time, potentially, right? And that'd be interesting. We've seen early forms of every other race, so why not the orcs, right?
Right, because orcs are supposed to be corrupted individuals.
I thought it was goblins.
So maybe this is like
corrupted elves.
Not a born orc, but a changed orc, and then the orcs that we see in Lord of the Rings are actually birthed from other orcs, right? That's why they're a little bit less patchy, if you will. Patchy. They're not as they're more put together because they're established. This is a new guy. He's like, I'm just trying to figure out my look and feel and everything.
I mean, he did have like a weird skeleton mask on, so he's going for style points. And
he was trying out his Halloween costume. And then what happened? He got stabbed and he got beheaded.
Surprise, Halloween's every day for that guy.
No.
Yeah, they did a great job, I think, of showing just how resilient this orc was, and so I'm curious to see like how consistent that, is. Like, it took, albeit 2 non-warriors to bring down this orc, right? So I'm just curious to see kind of like the power scaling as the show goes on.
Super Saiyan 5.
Right.
Exactly.
Juno, what's your qualifier for you to, at the end of the season, say, yes, this was good?
My qualifier for Lord of the Rings, the Ring of Power, is to see the ring itself.
I think we're too early.
In the first season?
I don't think we're gonna actually like see it made, but I think like an idea of it, or like
drawing,
a sketch of it, or
June, it's gonna be a big circle.
I know, but then I'll be like, I'll do the Leo meme. I'll be like, I know that.
Yeah. But what if it's like Click Clack, where he draws a boob? It's like a circle and then a small circle in the middle, but the dimensions are also just look like a boob, like Click Clack and Rebels.
Christian, we all are very familiar with Click Clack and Rebels, and your fascination with him and his boob.
I'm just saying, I think it's a great, like, I just love the idea of a flying insect running around the galaxy, drawing a boob, trying to get everyone to be like, this is a weapon of mass destruction, and everyone's just like, why are you drawing boobs everywhere?
Christian, if you think about Click Clack, he's actually very tragic. He's like literally the last Geonosian.
He had an egg.
Because his entire race has been wiped out and eradicated.
He had an egg. Okay, as long as he doesn't boil it and have it for breakfast, Right? The Geonosians will be back and better than ever.
I mean, going off onto Star Wars, I think by the time of the original and then the sequel trilogy, there's no Geonosians still, so I don't think it works.
So guess what, Christian?
I don't think it
worked.
You know what? Click Clack found a way out of the galaxy and found his own peaceful slice of heaven somewhere else.
He actually he went to the outer edges. He found whatever evil is out there, and he's gonna bring them back.
There is some canonical stuff about Click Clack post Rebels. So inevitably the egg does hatch, and that Geonosian Queen I think comes into contact with Vader, but Click Clack I think died shortly after the egg was hatched.
Are you being serious? Because you're
Are you making this
blowing Christian's mind and making him sad.
It's actually I'll have to find the comic and send it to you. But it's a lot of the Vader prequel stuff.
Wait! You said there's a comic, June? I know what we're getting Christian for his birthday.
I mean,
Click Clack isn't in the comic. He's already dead.
Yeah.
So it's just mentioned.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you have the boob drawing Click Clack meet the very real and believable Darth Jar Jar, okay, that would be my ultimate comic, movie, TV show
T-shirt?
adaptation. T-shirt. It's like an action figure.
We should
Lego
find
set.
Arjun. We should seriously find like an artist and apologize a lot, and then be like, "We need you to draw the dumbest thing in the world.
We need you to we need you to draw this Gungan with a cloak and looking evil. And we need you to draw this Geonosian drawing a tit.
Thank you.
And then our bald brother just looking happy.
Yeah, just being like,
Like
You
no,
don't have
better.
to draw me in there.
Better. It needs to be like a family portrait style thing.
Oh man. Oh shit.
Because Christian, I'm sure you don't have pictures of yourself in your place, right? So
It's actually really weird. I don't. I have more pictures of Arjuna than anything else because he keeps giving me pictures of himself.
Arjuna's a little narcissist.
Either that or Sahara's making him get rid of,
Pictures of himself? That's fucked up.
no, we've just been trying to pepper as many pictures of ourselves into
Everywhere.
everyone's place.
Getting back into the Rings of Power, bold predictions. Where do we think this is all going? Specific, obviously to season 1. I don't want to hear bold predictions of, I think the Sauron's going to get the ring.
I think Sauron's going to die one day and then die again.
I think there'll be this character called God. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. Like, where do you think, like, the show is going to go? Because, again, it's all uncharted territory. They can obviously literally do whatever they want. They will probably not change things up too much where it's like Sauron quits for a little bit, becomes a farmer, and has a whole family, and then goes back. Like, I don't think that's going to happen, but what do you think could happen?
Who's going first?
Yeah, not everyone go at once.
Yeah.
I can go first.
Let's hear it.
Mine's it's kind of related to season 1, but it's also like an Amazon thing in general.
Ooh, these good.
And my bold prediction is this: this show will be so popular and will become such a staple of Amazon that within 10 years,
10 years.
they will remake
Oh,
the
God.
Lord of the Rings movies that follows this show.
Wow. It's pretty bold.
That's very bold.
That
Well,
is
do
my
you think
bold
that? So I guess to piggyback off of that, do you think then they would use the casting choices of Galadriel and Elrond and just they'll be 10
Yeah.
years older, right? So just
I think
should be
so.
easy.
Maybe
What,
maybe our Gandalf.
Here's a question. Who owns the right? Like, Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit through who?
New Line Cinema.
And who owns them?
It's a great question.
Okay, here's a better question.
maybe they went out of
Because I'm
business.
trying to prevent this from happening, because I don't want that.
It's only a matter of time. Like I from a pure like fan perspective, I agree with you. I think Lord of the Rings is like one of the most perfect trilogies.
Right.
And full bias, as I was a kid when I watched that, it has a special place in my heart, and my soul, and my being. But no, I think those movies are like so good, and I don't think we need a remake or any something else, and that's why I've really enjoyed this show, because it's something different within that world. Now, granted, if they want to remake The Hobbit, please go ahead and do that.
So real quick, kind of interesting. The folks that own New Line Cinema, Warner Brother Pictures, who
I've heard of them.
Interestingly is going through this kind of massive reorg and reassessment of all their properties and studios. So I'm just saying, maybe there is a world in which Warner Brothers is like, hey, we don't really need New Line Cinema anymore, and Amazon swoops in and is like, cool, we'll take it for nothing.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
That is definitely a prediction.
That is a very bold. I mean, unfortunately, it'll take us roughly 10 years to validate that prediction. So,
it's true.
Hey, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Was It Good for the next 10 fucking years to see if Arjuna was right.
Oh, man.
But, I mean, I just think maybe I'm overthinking this, but I just think this is going to renew interest in, like, such a popular IP that it's just going to be, like, the thing that Amazon Prime Video and, like, their studios, right? They have a movie studio, is, like, known for, and just makes sense for them to continue that until inevitably the wheels fall off.
Damn.
That was Bradley's one-word impression. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think that is a bold prediction. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Who knows? I mean, we've seen Stranger Things.
Right, 1 through 4.
Yep. Christian, your bold prediction, or do you still need more time? Because I got mine if you need.
Yeah, you should go.
All right. So my bold prediction. My bold prediction for Lord of the Rings.
Isildur will not cast the ring into the fire.
No, I think mine, in all honesty, is going to be, and I'm saying this because I want to be wrong, the quality of the show is going to hit a tonal shift, unfortunately. I think we are going to see, unfortunately, the disruption that is COVID, and I think it's going to happen roughly around the midway point of the show. Maybe just on the second half. Because this is only 8 episodes, correct?
I believe so.
So I think around episode 5 or 6, I think things are going to potentially fall apart. That's my bold prediction. And I say it because usually I'm always wrong with my bold predictions. So my thinking is if I say this and I'm wrong, the show will be good.
I like it.
You're welcome.
Taking an L for the team.
Yep.
Is your real bold prediction that Hugo Weaving will show up?
No. Is that the no, here's a really good one actually. Theo, little fucking asshole he is.
Jesus.
Theo is going to become the mouth of Sauron. There you go. That's a bold.
Oh, you mean the guy with the teeth?
The guy with the teeth.
Return of the King?
Yep.
Wow. That is.
Which is cool though, because that means he gets to live for 4,500 years. So that's terrible, probably.
Until he meets his end.
Yeah. Doesn't he get his head cut off by Aragorn or something?
Yes, he does. Yeah. In the extended edition?
I only watch the extended editions now. I don't ever watch the regular.
I believe the theatrical edition, it was just a troll.
Wait, what?
No, literally. So it's not the mouth. It's just like a troll that he fights in the theatrical edition. I think the mouth is in the extended edition.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I thought you meant the release of the theatrical versions was a troll job.
Oh,
Peter Jackson. So I was like, wait, what are you talking about? What?
Yeah, Peter Jackson's just like, yeah, here's the copy. And you're like, wait, no, that's not the version release.
Whoops. Nice. All right, Christian, come on. We've been building up here. What is your over-the-top, insane, bold prediction that's going to be earth-shattering?
Yeah, it's not really that earth-shattering. But I think in season 1, I'll be the only one to do anything related to the story. In season 1, I think we will see all 5 of the wizards gathered, holding some kind of council.
Like an Avengers shot.
Kind of, yeah. It'll probably happen near the end, but we'll see Gandalf, Radagast, Saruman, and the 2 unnamed wizards who disappeared.
Oh,
I'm actually not even sure Tolkien ever named those two, to be honest.
He didn't because he had no plan for them. He's just like, they're not there, and there's nothing about them. So
I have a feeling
I think
Amazon
what's cool,
is going to fill that hole. Yeah,
they
Could be with the
they can do
stranger.
anything they want with those
Yeah.
wizards.
Yeah.
which is insane.
It turns out it's Galadriel and Elrond, just because.
Whoa.
No, better. Sauron just shows up. Sup, guys?
Yeah, he's
Sup?
he's the fourth one, and Morgoth is the fifth one.
Yeah.
They're like, hey guys, we're the wizards.
Hey
Yeah,
guys, I
that's
figured out what's in that what Durin and his dad are hiding.
What?
It's the two wizards.
They're this big. Hey, look at me.
Hey, I'm the wizards, guys. What's
They're actually leprechaun like wizards.
Oh man, yeah, I think they were like the blue wizards. So Gandalf the gray, Saruman the white, I think Radagast the green, and I think it's like a blue wizard, and I don't know if it was both of them were blue, Wizards of the Blue or something.
So they were just
but
sad
something
all the
related
time?
to blue, if I remember rightly.
Blue
I think
time.
I think we'll see all five, and
You
I
know-
think Amazon's gonna do something cool with them.
Christian, you know where they went? They started the Blue Man Group.
They were too busy
Blue,
making music.
da-ba-dee-da-ba-da.
That's not the Blue Man.
That's not the Blue Man Group.
I know it isn't, but should be their theme song.
It was at Eiffel 65.
Yeah, great band. Don't know if they're around still. Probably on TikTok making weird content. All right, it's that time. Who would like to ask the question first?
I'll go first
All right,
because
so-
I also want to add something to this as
Oh,
well.
Let's go.
Ravi,
Or Juna.
was Rings of Power Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2 good? And was it better than the first 2 episodes of House of the Dragon?
Yes, it was good. And fuck yes, it was better than whatever House of the Dragon is. And I don't mean
Damn.
that I don't know what it is. I just mean that show is very lost.
We will be bringing our House of the Dragon thoughts at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, just so that people are curious, like why we didn't kick off with because usually when it comes to like week-to-week television, we try and do first episode, maybe the mid-season, and then the end of the season. But I spoke with Christian and Arjuna, and I said to you guys, hey, I can't do it. It's just going to be bad. So I'd rather wait till the very end and then collect my thoughts, and then we'll potentially do something on there. But yeah, House of the Dragon, not something I want to talk about.
Also known as Hot D.
Hot D! That's the
D.
only good thing to come of that, and then also that weird HBO Max TikTok put together this weird cut of Matt Smith as the Doctor, and then
That
as
was
this,
awesome.
and
That
then
was
as
awesome.
What's his character's name?
Damon,
Damon. In,
who's the best character in Hot D.
Oh yeah, by far. He's the only reason I'm watching the show
For his Hot D.
for his Hot D. Anyway, Krishna was Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Good. And was it better than Hot D, episode uno and dos?
Yes to both. Easy yes to both. Really good. Surprisingly good. For all the shows that are out right now, I really had very low interest in watching them. But they've all surpassed my expectations. And Rings of Power is definitely a step ahead of Hot D at the moment. In fact, I haven't even watched the second episode of Hot D because I feel like that's a better show to bank episodes because there's so much information and you got to get into the world. Rings of Power feels different because it takes its time. It's not just dumping information at you, or I don't know. It feels different. Like I feel like I want to experience each episode of Rings of Power and then sit with it. Hot D, I'd rather just binge.
Yeah.
And I think that's due to the quality of the two shows. I think Rings of Power is clearly a step ahead of anything out right now. Maybe anything that has ever been. I mean, it is the most expensive show.
And there's
ever.
the Krishna hyperbole that we love.
Yeah, I was about to say. There it is.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, but in terms of production, the production quality,
Yeah.
it's clearly I mean, I can't think of another. I mean, you guys love Doctor Who, so you know, I know you guys. Your radar for production quality is.
Okay, well, everyone knows Doctor Who has bad production because the
And
BBC
you guys love it.
infamously,
You guys love it. I
has
hate
low
that you guys
production.
love it.
Well, the BBC's a
Doesn't make
government-run
sense.
thing, so yeah, it's
It
gonna
doesn't
be
They have like
any
£3
sense.
for each episode.
Oh my God. Anyway, rant over. Arjuna, was the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power good, and were they better than the first 2 episodes of House of Dragon.
Yes, they were very, very good. And yes, they were better than Hot D. Even though I did enjoy House of the Dragon, this is no diss to that, but I just think Lord of the Rings for me is way more interesting than Game of Thrones. I like Game of Thrones. I love Lord of the Rings, and I thought this was just like a perfect return to Middle Earth in that realm. And I'm like just very excited for the show. It's one of those shows that just feels like appointment television for me, where it's like every Thursday night I'm gonna just kind of be locked in and ready to go and waiting for this show because I think it's really cool.
Are you gonna? Because obviously the show is gonna drop. I think Thursdays at 9 p.m. This first week was just because of the first 2 episodes. Are you gonna wait and you gonna watch it Thursday night or wait?
For sure.
Okay.
Definitely we'll watch it Thursday. Then I'll watch it Friday. Maybe I'll watch it again Saturday.
That's weird.
Wow.
Is it though? I mean, I feel like I need to watch it a few times to actually understand what's going on.
I need to watch it a few times to get the pronunciation of like people's names down properly.
Yeah, like is it rings or is it rangs?
Rangs. It's the rings of power. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, with that, that's going to do it for us here on Was It Good? As always, you can find us on Twitter at Was It Good, on Instagram and TikTok at Was It Good Pod. Definitely check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wasitgood for full episodes, VODs, shorts. And check out our website, wasitgood.info. We will be back this coming week with a new pod, so be sure to follow along on social for us to tell you what it's going to be on. Because I don't know yet. Bye.
Noise. Bye.
Bye.